No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Alongside Connor Harabchuk, the very dapper, I might add, Connor Harabchuk. I'm your host, Drew Mindell, coming to you from inside the house now, as opposed to outside like I was this morning. I figured it's a little darker, a little bit colder. I'd be inside rather than outside for this post-game show. You are high atop the ice surface at the downtown arena, Connor, where we all just watched the Winnipeg Jets with one of their most complete efforts of the season, one of their most complete efforts of recent memory, sort of hearkening back, I'd say, to the victory over the Boston Bruins for a complete effort as dominant as this one was. But for the final home game, good sir, before the Christmas break, this is exactly what the Winnipeg Jets wanted to deliver to their fans, and the fans responded in kind. A dominant 5-0 shutout victory over the Minnesota Wild. Good evening again to you, sir. How are things?
Yes, doing well. What did we say this morning? That we were talking about the Jets' offense and lack thereof, maybe. And then, of course, we said, of course, they're going to come out tonight and score 5, and that's what they did. It was a sold-out crowd here at Canada Life Center, and you could tell this building erupted after every single goal. They were into it. The standing ovation, where they usually clap at the end of the game, lasted about 2 minutes. Before that, there was a wave, a very healthy wave inside the building. So this was a great night inside the barn, and the Jets, responded after that tough loss on Wednesday against Anaheim. This was a picture-perfect response, in my opinion.
That's exactly what it was. We talked about it this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. The Jets, there was no reason for this to not sort of be the response. You had a team in Minnesota on the second half of a back-to-back, a banged-up Minnesota Wild team, a rookie goaltender who hasn't had really any success to speak of at the NHL level, has in fact been struggling at the AHL level as well. You had a Jets power play that's been scintillating against a 30th ranked overall, probably worse than that now, penalty kill. All the hallmarks of a blowout win were there for the Winnipeg Jets. The question was, were they going to be able to respond in kind? And you talked about it, I saw you tweet about it earlier. It was the first period where the Jets have been horrible the last couple of games in the first period. They come out and they have their best first period in a long while tonight, where they actually control the play. We know the score is 2-0 after the first period, so that's always a good sign. But just everything about it was what you wanted to see the Winnipeg Jets deliver tonight, and they did so, and the crowd was appreciative of the players. It wasn't just the top line clicking. The scoring was spread out all throughout. You had a goal, obviously, from Morgan Barron, and we'll get into the goals, during the Play Now game recap, but this is exactly what you wanted to see from the Winnipeg Jets. It's sort of reminiscent of the Jets during the incredible start to the season that we've only seen glimpses of over the last month or 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm having deja vu from that win going into the holiday break last year against the Boston Bruins, where the Jets rolled the Bruins 5-1. Obviously, at that time, the Jets were first in the NHL as well, and there's one game left before the actual holiday break this year. But around the holidays, the Jets always have these big home games on either Friday or Saturday and just absolutely dominate. And yeah, you mentioned the first period. I mean, that was a big part of what the Jets needed to do tonight, was get off to a good start, because that's been a massive problem. They generated 9 high danger chances in that first period, came away with a 2-0 lead that we'll get into with the goal by goal recap here. But that was exactly what you wanted to do. Road teams come in here, they try to take the crowd out of it. It was a sold out crowd. The energy was there right from the jump. You want to feed off that energy, give the crowd something to cheer about early. And they did that not only by generating a lot of offense, 9 high danger chances, like I said, but scoring twice and taking a 2-0 lead through the first period.
Yeah. And to me, what's almost as important as the goals in tonight's game is the effectiveness of the penalty kill. Now,
Yes.
the Minnesota Wild don't have a great power play, so that's obviously a caveat you want to put on everything. But the Jets certainly took their share of penalties. In fact, an early penalty. They took that penalty. I mean, hang on, it was a minute 32 into the game. Josh Morrissey got called for hooking on Ryan Hartman. If the penalty kill isn't sharp to begin for the Winnipeg Jets and isn't sharp throughout the entirety of this game, it might be an entirely different story. So the power play, of course, is going to get all the headlines, given that it was incredible again, and it generated 2 power play goals, if I'm not mistaken. As I'm sort of double, I don't have my second screen obviously when I'm here on the road, so it's when I don't have the second screen, it makes it a lot harder to do this, and I sort of miss it very badly. But the 2 power play goals, the third goal that came just after the power play ended. But to me, the headline of tonight's game is the penalty kill is what drives everything else, to success in this game. A huge factor in the PK in addition to the power play.
I 100% agree. And I'm just going to pull up the final shot totals because, like you said, the Minnesota Wild had their fair share of power plays, but they didn't generate much on them. They had 19 shots
in total.
Yeah, 19 shots in total. So Connor Hellebuyck got the shutout on this night, 4th shutout of the season. That's a league leading 21st win of the season. That's also league leading. But the Jets did a really good job not making him work too much tonight. He had to make a big save with, I think, 10 seconds left to preserve the shutout.
Exactly.
But he answered when there were chances against. But I thought the Jets' defensive structure at 5-on-5 and especially on the penalty kill, like you mentioned, Drew, was the key to victory on this night because the goals are nice. We know the power play is elite. They generated a bit more at 5-on-5 tonight than we've seen in the past couple games. But that penalty kill's slowly been getting better and better. And now you combine that with Connor Hellebuyck. You do it against a team like the Minnesota Wild who are desperate. They had lost 3 straight in regulation. Now it's 4 straight in regulation for them. And that's 8 straight wins now for the Winnipeg Jets against the Minnesota Wild, dating back to, I believe, if I have this correctly,
ago, right?
March 2023 or maybe March 2022 was the last time the Wild. It's either 2022 or 23, the last time the Wild beat the Jets.
Well, they only play they play 3 times this year. This is the. I mean, it should be. They should play more. I mean, I know you play. Sometimes you play your own division either 3 or 4 times, and this year is obviously a year that the Jets and the Wild only face 3 times. But these division games are so much more exciting, and everyone gets so much more pumped up for most of these division games. All due respect to a team like Utah or before that Arizona, nobody really cared as much about those games. But the division games have an extra energy to them, and it's a 100%. Shame that the NHL doesn't schedule more division games than the Jets and the Wild should play each other more than 3 times a year. The fan bases don't like each other. The energy in the room is greater. We talked about it this morning. I said it this morning. The 82 game regular season is too long. So why don't you make it a little bit more valuable by adding a few more division games, make it a little bit more interesting for people. So, that's a separate aside in its entirety. Scott Arniel will be joining us, not us exclusively, but we'll get his post game comments coming up from the Matt Frost Media Center over here. I see photographer, videographer extraordinaire Colby Spence is set up backstage here. So we'll bring you Scott Arniel coming up momentarily here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. But this is just exactly what the Winnipeg Jets wanted to do. You feel good about yourself. You flush the Wednesday game against Anaheim. You flush even part of the Tuesday game against San Jose when you weren't great. You have a quality opponent in the Minnesota Wild, albeit one that's not at full strength. So, that certainly has to be said. But the Winnipeg Jets just, again, this is what good teams are supposed to do. But the Jets hadn't necessarily been doing it as well recently as they had in previous times. So that's what you wanted to see in today's contest, just that control of the game from the get-go, from puck drop. And there's nothing you don't really like about the Jets game tonight. There's really no, what nits are you going to pick in tonight's game? There really aren't very many to speak of. I thought Ville Heinola had his best game in coming back to the lineup. He had that really nice pass, tape to tape. I think it was on, onto Kyle Connor's stick, if I recall.
I think it was Ehlers.
It was Ehlers?
Ehlers, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look through my notes here. If I could read my own, with about 2:45 to play in the second period, it was great. A great breakout pass, tape to tape, and that's what you want to see from a guy like Ville Heinola. I thought he looked comfortable on the left side. Shocking that he'd feel comfortable there as well. And again, this is going to be one of those games that you try and bottle up and recreate and replicate. Is that the horn telling me to stop talking? Is that what that is?
I don't know what that was. The Jets just scored again. I think it's 6-0 now.
Yeah, but exactly. But my point being that, again, this is the performance you want to see from the Winnipeg Jets tonight.
Yeah, and I agree with you on Ville Heinola. I said this morning that going into this game, I was just going to overanalyze the third pair, so that's what we'll do. I think he had some rough moments. They had some rough shifts, but again, I really liked Colin Miller in this game as well. I think he's the clear number 5 on this team when everyone's healthy. And he's been a part of the rotation recently, which I said this morning didn't really make sense, and I thought that pairing was fine. But yeah, there was not much wrong with the Winnipeg Jets play on this night. Even Cole Perfetti had a 3-point night and had his best game in a long time, I thought. And you mentioned, this is what good teams are supposed to do. They're supposed to take advantage of Central Division rivals, banged up, second night of a back-to-back. The Jets are also supposed to beat the Anaheim Ducks, and that's just further to your point about what good teams are supposed to do. You're supposed to beat the bottom feeders, and you're also supposed to, protect your home ice in a sense against your biggest rival. And the Jets, 8 straight wins against the Wild and another win tonight, did just that.
Against the team that's been terrific on the road, as we talked about.
Yes.
This is, I guess, the Wilds. They're only their 3rd loss on the road, in tonight, losing tonight in Winnipeg. You mentioned that shift. There was a shift in the second period. It was about with 9.5 minutes to about 8.5 minutes to go in the second period, where the Jets really got hemmed in. They were able to switch the forwards. That's when it's the long change in the second period, of course. They were able to change the forwards, but they weren't able to change Ville Heinola and Colin Miller. And those two guys were absolutely gassed on the ice, and you could see it. And the Jets were fortunate that it ended up with Connor Hellebuck freezing the puck, but the Wild were able to rotate around. Here's Jets head coach Scott Arniel.
Scott, is that as complete a game as you guys have maybe put together 60 minutes in quite some time?
I wouldn't say some time. I would say that it's probably been one of our better efforts in the last couple of days here, last few games. That we knew that they were coming in after playing last night. Went after them in the first period, and kind of continued that throughout the 3 periods. Like a lot of our compete, sort of a lot of our details, a lot of good things that happened tonight.
You said the other night Nikolai looked like a rusty player and very critical of his own play, as he often is. Did you see both his play and then that line's play really seemed to take another step tonight?
Yeah, I mean, when you see his speed like that, when he puts it on display, it's nerve-wracking for the opposition, and especially the defenders that have to play that side of the ice. And he pushes people back, and it just creates offense, zone time for that group. And those 3 were, they did a really good job. Spent a lot of time down that end of the rink, and got rewarded for it.
I think you've talked about that line as a strength, even for checking, despite their size before it was a goal for them in that case today. What did you say?
It's hard. The pressure is the big part of it. It's taking away their time and space and getting after them. And that's exactly what got on them. Their pressure, they got down quickly, didn't allow Minnie to kind of make the next play, and created the turnover, and is in the back of the net. So it's kind of those guys that when they do it, when they're moving like that, they can be very effective. The other side of things for me, I thought 4 lines were going tonight. I know I mentioned that to you guys. That'd probably be the thing for me. It's probably the first time in a while that we've had all 4 lines going one right after the other, and that was that continued momentum, sort of shift to shift.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the Scheifele line. I don't think there's a whole lot of points there tonight, but they kick off the game and end off a shift, right? Like that's a lot of statement.
Yeah, it is. And obviously you wanted everybody's first shifts of the game, like I mentioned the other night in Anaheim there. Our first shift for everybody, we ended up hemmed in our end, and tonight it was the opposite. We went out one right after the other. We took the penalty, obviously, that happens, but at the end of the day we killed that, and then just I like the way our momentum kept building. Got the power play goal, and then we kept going, and that's kind of what we have to continue to do.
And tonight would be probably a night you want to give some roses to the penalty kill. Perfect night from them in a key moments.
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't really want to get into one of those that quick into the game, but we did it right from first 2 minutes there. Obviously, did a great job, and it was that was a tough part. Lost a little bit of the flow of the game because of the 9 different penalties, and but I thought our penalty kill did a great job. I think that they're an extremely dangerous group. We've had trouble with them in the past, and 97, 36 special players out there. They do a lot of good things. I thought we did a really good job of containing them.
Do you have an update for Adam Lowry?
Yeah, he was just banged up a little bit there. Got banged up on one of the shifts. He should be fine.
Could I also ask the third panel earlier? I'm sure there's lots of good. There's a couple of shifts I think where they're in their zone in the second.
Yeah, I think that, like you mentioned, things that they're continuing to grow together. That's Billy being back on the left side. He'd been playing the right with Stan. So, just familiarity playing with Wilsey. I think, just like you said, there's some good things that we'll look at and that they can build on. There's some other areas that they just got to continue to, improve. And, we don't stress them out too much in the sense of, getting them thinking all about the bad things. We want to continue to build on the positives. And, I think they're there. I think Millsy helps, Villy in those situations. So there's lots of good going on. They got lots of minutes, which help too.
And sorry, just a quick one on Dave going in for Rasmus. He's obviously was sick yesterday, but and cleared out of protocol.
Yeah, no, he was fine. Yeah, he was okay. He got out of the protocol and really kind of wasn't sure about about doing it in Anaheim. We're really looking at that one, but we waited one more day for him and thought that line was real good, and obviously scored a big goal. And I thought Gus, he's the type of guy that he kind of gets in, and especially what happened in the Boston game, I was really proud to see him go out and play as hard as he did.
That's what I was going to say. Like, did you almost feel like you didn't want to let him linger too long once he was cleared to go because of how that last game for him ended?
Exactly. We had to get him back in there and just let him get back up and running again. All right, thanks. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody. All the best.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel addressing the assembled media at the Matt Frost Media Center. Again, everything that basically we've talked about so far, Connor. The Jets head coach reiterated, David Gustafson back in the lineup. Good to hear that Adam Lowry is fine. He left and looked a little ginger. And, of course, things change. Oftentimes they say a guy's fine and then you realize, he might not be that fine a couple days later. But for now, we'll take the Jets head coach at his word that the Jets captain will be fine. Those were his words, and he'll be in the lineup on Monday afternoon when the Jets head to Toronto. Worth noting, Austin Matthews is questionable for that game on Monday afternoon in Toronto.
Right.
He didn't play for the Leafs today. He re-aggravated the injury. I hear, in fact, he's going to Belgium instead of Germany to get looked after, between now and Monday, rather than Germany. He's done Germany, didn't really work so well. Belgium is the next. Waffles is going to be a solution for that. But in any event, good to hear from the Jets head coach. Your thoughts on any of his comments there before we get into the Play Now game recap?
Yeah, I think Adam Lowry's status was the biggest thing I was listening for there, just because he left the game, I want to say, with about 8 minutes remaining. Okay. I didn't see the play, but obviously he did not return. At that point, it was 4-0, 5-0. So, why not?
No need to rush him back at that point in time.
Exactly. Why would he come back, right? But good to hear that he should be fine. I liked Scott Arniel's assessment of Nikolai Ehlers' game as well. Obviously, I think we can all agree, did look a little rusty on Wednesday, but that line in particular looked a lot better on this night. So, interesting stuff from the Jets head coach on Lowry. Good thing that he's all right, and Nikolai Ehlers and that second line. Yeah,
exactly what you wanted to hear from the Jets head coach there. I thought his comments about Heinola being on the left side and being comfortable with Colin Miller, a bit of a tell. If you're a poker player, you look for your opponent if they have a tell. It's like, yeah, well, of course he's more comfortable on the left side. You're putting him into a position to succeed with a better player, largely playing alongside him. And we don't need to relitigate Logan Stanley over and over again. But when you put somebody in the position to succeed, it's no wonder that they're going to, play better because they're in a better position.
Scott Arniel clearly listened to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show this morning because that's what we said. That's what we said.
And if he did, and Lord help us all, he's wasting his time in that case. Well, maybe when you talk, it's worth it. But when Ginsburg and I ramble incoherently, nobody wants to hear it. Let's get into the goal by goal recap. It's brought to you by our friends at Play Now.
The Play Now game recap.
thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve hockey show. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. We talked about how the Jets took an early penalty. They were able to kill that off, which I thought set a tone for the whole game. If they don't kill that off, maybe the Wild have a little bit of juice, have a little bit of life, but they were able to mitigate that damage on the Josh Morrissey penalty there. And then the Jets get their own opportunity. John Merrill gets called for holding, and the Jets jump onto us. Who's that? Hi, Liz. How are you?
Listen, she can't hear. I have my headphones in.
Okay, well, tell her I said hi. Okay,
Drew says hi.
Yeah, there you go. The more the merrier tonight on the post-game show.
Exactly.
But the Jets kill off the penalty that Morrissey takes. They get an opportunity with John Merrill in the box, and it takes 6 seconds. We talked about it this morning. We talked about the Wild. They have a bad penalty kill. This is, this is as easy as it could possibly be. You have a goaltender really in Jesper Wallstedt here, who I think is guessing on the play. I think he's anticipating what Nikolai Ehlers is going to do, but he guesses wrong, and Ehlers just goes 5-hole really on him. I think he was playing the pass, but Ehlers decided just to walk out and try and jam it through a goalie who's inexperienced and maybe not up to snuff, and the Jets had an early 1-0 lead here, exactly how you want to start a power play opportunity.
I 100% agree. And at risk of giving the Jets coaching staff too much credit here, I think that this might be a little bit of pre-scout showing up in what we see on the ice and maybe analyzing a flaw right off the faceoff when you see a guy standing right wide open in front 6 seconds after the puck is dropped on the power play. Clearly that was planned. Clearly that was accounted for. Clearly there was a flaw there that the Jets found in the Wild and how they play power plays right off the faceoff, because Nikolai Ehlers should not have time to be all alone in the crease and do what he did, which was take the puck directly to the net and end up scoring. But this was just the start of a great night for Nikolai Ehlers, the power play. And I do think I obviously was not down there asking the questions, but I do think that this is something that maybe showed up in the Jets pre-scout and how the Wild defend off of the faceoff, because he was just so open and it was so efficient and quick for the Jets power play.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you how dangerous the Jets power play is. The number of players that you have to defend, a number of options you have to defend are almost limitless. And the Jets certainly decided to take an early advantage on that. And that's, when you're playing a team on the second half of a back-to-back, that's what you want to do. You want to seed those doubts nice and early. When you're playing against a rookie goaltender who hasn't had any success, seed those doubts. And that's what you do when you score 6 seconds into the power play. Apparently, I was looking at some tweets from our buddy Michael Russo, and apparently the Wild gave up a goal 4 seconds into the power play against Utah last night. So I guess that's progress if you're a fan of the Minnesota Wild. Maybe it takes the opposition an extra 2 seconds to score. And maybe that's not so much the progress they were looking to see, but the Jets will gladly take the 1-0 lead at that point in time. They get another opportunity shortly thereafter. Gabriel Kaprizov takes that high sticking penalty, and the Jets, were looking to jump on them, make it 2-0 really quick there. Instead, no success there, but coming out of the box, a real good opportunity for Kirill Kaprizov, who seemed to be on the ice for roughly 58 minutes of the 60 minutes of tonight's game. Anytime, Harner Ryan Singh on the broadcast said a player's name of the Minnesota Wild, it seemed to be Kaprizov and Rossi. And then in the third period, it was Kustadinov. Easy for me to say.
I won't even fact check you. I have no clue.
Kustadinov. There we go. Kustadinov. I was practicing it, right, and I still couldn't do it even after that. But he got some opportunities later in the game. But before that, it was all about that first line for the Minnesota Wild: the Kaprizov, the Rossi, the Zuccarello line. They seem to be the only driving line for the Wild. But he gets a good backhand off coming out of the penalty box, and it's a real nice save for Connor Hellebuyck. He wasn't tested overwhelmingly in tonight's game, but he had to stand up and make the saves you expect Connor Hellebuyck to make. It was that one. It was the one late in the game by off Kustaninov to save the shutout with about 10 seconds to go. And again, that's just Connor Hellebuck doing what Connor Hellebuck does to make it keep it 1-0. Even before that, though, it was sort of a wild start to the game. Adam Lowry had that breakaway on the in the box, and then there was just back and forth some action there. And then it's Morgan Barron. He makes it 2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. Let me just pull out my phone here so I can get the exact time that goal happens. It's in the first period. 17:54. Morgan Barron. This is a guy who I wanted to talk a bit about him on this morning's show. I get an opportunity to do so. I sort of ran out of time before there was so much to discuss, and I sort of ran out of time on this one. But this is a guy that the Jets need more from, in my opinion. They need more productivity from Morgan Barron, more impact from Morgan Barron. Now, I know he's in a fourth line role, and there's only so much opportunity he gets, but I thought it was really good for him to get this goal. And it's and it's not an empty net goal. I mean, it is actually an empty net goal. Well, yeah. Play, but I thought this was just a nice hard play, a good 2-on-1. Him and Iafallo, Wallstead makes the original save, but for Morgan Barron to go back there, not give up on the play, not sort of veer off on the play, but to continue and follow up and jump on that loose puck, I thought was really big for him and for the Jets to make it 2-0.
Absolutely. It's his first goal of the year with a goaltender at least somewhat in the net, right? Not It doesn't go down as an ENG. Right. And like Scott Arniel said after the game, this was one of the first times in a while where it felt like all four lines were going for the Jets, and the fourth line was a big reason for that. You see the Lowry line have these games, and against the Minnesota Wild on a Saturday night, they were going to step up. They always seem to kind of elevate in these big games, but to get production from the fourth line as well and get Morgan Barron's third of the year was really, really huge for the Jets, not only in the grand scheme of things, but in the moment. Making that game 2-0 going into the first intermission was a massive goal at that point, capitalizing on the great first period that the Jets put together. I said off the top of the show, 9 high danger chances in that first period, and their ability to convert that into actual goals and get to the hard areas of the ice and make it 2-0 was huge. And I think that the fourth line can build off of this game. I know Rasmus Kupari was not in and David Gustafsson was in, and Kupari's the usual guy on that fourth line center role, but I really liked what Barron and Iafallo did, not just because of the goal, the penalty killing as well. I thought Morgan Barron broke up a lot of plays on the penalty kill tonight, so I thought he had one of his best games of the season. And Alex Iafallo, we know he's fairly consistent. We know what kind of game he's bringing. So great game from the fourth line and a huge goal and a big moment for the Jets here.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, and again, talking about what I was saying before about how it seemed like Kaprizov and Rossi were always on the ice in tonight's game. This goal comes, this is a minute and a half of a shift for Kirill Kaprizov and a minute 36 for Marco Rossi. So you could see they had nothing left in the tank. They're just gassed and trying to get back into the play, gassed and trying to sort of just try and defend against Iafallo and against Morgan Barron, particularly Iafallo, as he's coming in sort of with the initial opportunity, and those guys just lost track of where Morgan Barron was. They weren't able to track the puck or anything along those lines. So it was great for the Winnipeg Jets to be able to get that kind of goal and take advantage take advantage of that opportunity to do so.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, for the fourth line, they have been very up and down as of late, and Morgan Barron is a guy that needed a goal. We've been over this, but it's the way that they scored it. And I thought the Jets actually generated a lot off the rush tonight, which I don't know if that was maybe due to fatigue with the Minnesota Wild, obviously having played last night, maybe missing some of their best defensemen, things like that. And Joel Eriksson-Ek, who's one of the best two-way centers, or at least defensive centers in the NHL, I think really hurt them in that category. But this was another example of the Jets generating off the rush, which I thought they did all night long. At 5-on-5 outside of the power play, which we know was great. And like I said this morning, you can't fault the Jets for having the best power play and the best goalie in the league. You just like to see a little bit more sustainability at 5-on-5, and I thought we saw that tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So at this point, it's 2-0 after 20 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets. A very good start to that period. They kill off another penalty in that period. They kill off, in fact, yes. Then there was that stretch of a 4-on-4 where
Right.
really not much happened. But then Colin Miller takes that penalty late in the first period that carries over into the second period, and the Jets were able to kill off that one successfully. So again, there's a theme because I believe that late first period. Early in the first period, they take the penalty, they kill it off. Late in the first period, they take that penalty, they kill it off both in the first and then in the second. And then sort of a weird play, Jesper Wallstedt. You don't see a goalie back in the day. You might not even be. This might predate you a little bit there, young Connor. But back in the day, the only real way for a player to get a puck over glass minor penalty, delay of game, was for the goalie to shoot it over the glass. It wasn't something players could get penalized for. So this one was a bit of an old school one. Jesper Wallstedt, I mean, sort of bad luck at this point. He goes to paddle the puck away, and he accidentally paddles it right over the back of the glass into the mesh behind the Wild net. He gets called for the delay of game puck over glass penalty, and the Jets get the power play goal on the ensuing power play. This one is Neil Pionk's, his fifth of the year assist to Cole Perfetti and Nino Niederreiter. And at first, it looks like a boomer of a shot from Neil Pionk, and it is. It's a good shot from Neil Pionk. I'm not going to take anything away from the shot, but if you're it looks like Wallstedt sees a lot of this one. At first, I thought the screen was taking away his eyes, and there's layers to it. There's players in front of him, but this is a one that, especially in this circumstance, in this time of the game. Credit to Pionk, but at the same time, I think if you're the Wild, you need your goalie to find a way to not let this one in, to prevent this from getting into the back of the net. Because once it's 2-0, the Jets were fairly in control. Once it's 3-0 and you're playing on the second half of back-to-back, it's a bit of a backbreaker for the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, and you see a lot of the Winnipeg Jets have the best power play in the NHL by percentage, and what you see a lot out of that top unit is a lot of high danger chances being generated. This was not one of them. This was obviously the second unit with Neil Pionk on it, but right. I 100% agree with kind of the stakes of this goal for the Minnesota Wild. It kind of felt like the dagger because they were never really in this game up until this point. I know it's super early and anything can happen in the NHL, but it felt as though that at 3-0, the lead was then insurmountable for the Minnesota Wild, and that proved to be true. But yeah, this is a shot that is an incredible shot. I agree with you, Drew, but I have to agree that this is one that Wallstedt has to have. There's a little bit of a screen, maybe, and he maybe picks it up a little bit late. But again, Neil Pionk with an incredible shot. That's now 26 points in 35 games for him this season. His underlying numbers have dipped off pretty healthily if that's even a word. Yeah, good enough.
When you're with the illegal curve crew, it's a word.
Yeah, sure.
I'm still trying to pronounce Kustadinov.
Right. Yeah, let's roll with it. But since Dylan Sandberg's injury is what I was trying to say, his numbers, his underlying numbers have dipped off quite a bit. And with Hayden Fleury there, that pairing has had up games. They've had a lot of down games, and this was an up game, not only for them, but for the whole team, of course. But to see Neil Pionk get on the score sheet, not only with the goal, but the assist later as well on Vladislav Nemestikov's deflection, which we'll get to later on. I thought he had a strong game, and 26 points in 35 games is pretty good for a guy in a contract year.
Yeah, exactly right. He'll gladly accept that. So the Jets lead 3-0 at that point in time, and that's where the second period ends, with the Jets leading 3-0. There was another opportunity I wanted to highlight, just speaking about Morgan Barron and how he sort of impressed me. He had an opportunity where he got sent in, quasi alone. It wasn't what I would describe as a breakaway, but there was a nice seam pass, or and the seas parted for Barron, and he had a good opportunity in that third period. We mentioned already the shift plus, where Heinola and Colin Miller got hemmed into their own zone. The forwards were able to switch, but those guys got hemmed in there. And then, of course, we also mentioned the nice pass by Heinola onto the stick of Nikolai Ehlers there. So lots of good for the Winnipeg Jets. Again, another period where they take a late penalty. This is the one where they had a couple of them. I guess it was Ehlers got penalized for high sticking. And then Vlad Nemesnikov got penalized for slashing Kirill Kaprizov late in that second period.
I want to ask about that one because I don't know. I didn't see a replay or a good replay, let's say, in the building here on the TVs above us here.
Yeah.
Was that like, it looked like he got stick on stick, and then Kaprizov kind of went like this with his hand and called it. I don't know.
Kaprizov definitely sold it. I don't have a problem with players selling it, by the way. If you can sell it and the official's going to fall for it,
buy
then
it.
by all means, look, do whatever you need to do to draw a penalty. I'm perfectly fine with. I didn't think it was I didn't think it was anything vicious by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't think it's something that was the most heinous act that I've seen on the ice before. But look, he sold it. The refs fell for it. Then good for Kirill Kaprizov, but better for the Winnipeg Jets in killing off another late penalty in that second period, and then carries over into the third period, of course. And they kill it off there to keep it at that point in time the 3-0 lead for the Winnipeg Jets, which certainly felt insurmountable. Third period begins. The Wild have that power play. Adam Lowry loses his stick while on the penalty kill. So he's, it's sort of even 5 on, not just 5 on 4, but almost like 5 on 3.5. The Jets were able to, prevent that from ending up in any sort of disaster. And then there was a real nice play by Connor Hellebuyck on the, it's not really going to get registered or anything, but the Wild had a real good opportunity for a seam pass. It was going to lead to a tap-in goal for Marco Rossi. But Connor Hellebuyck, he was sharp. He was on top of his game tonight. Real nice poke check of the pass that was coming right across the top of the blue paint, and he deflects it away harmlessly. And if he doesn't do that, if that pass gets through, it's going to be a 3-1 game at that point. Instead, for the Winnipeg Jets, they make it 4-0. And it's just an absolutely brutal giveaway by Jonas Brodin. It goes right onto the stick of Cole Perfetti. And for a guy who definitely needed a goal, not only does he get a goal, but he gets this great honor as well.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Seagrams, big thanks to them and their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. This Cole Perfetti goal is our Seagrams shot of the game. I'm sure that it's a Saturday night and people might be drinking responsibly, and I'm probably going to have a bourbon here in a minute or two after this post-game show wraps up, but I hope that you drink something like Fireball if that's your drink of choice. I saw some Fireball at the grocery store here earlier today, and I was like, hey, Fireball, Seagrams, Illegal Curve, all coming together in one great promotional opportunity. But this is, for Cole Perfetti, this is just a real nice shot. Terrible giveaway by Jonas Brodin. He's trying to hit Marcus Johansson. He just misses him with the pass. And Perfetti's in the slot. He's in a good shooting position. He doesn't try to do too much with it. He says, my shot's better than you are, goaltender. And make no mistake on it to give the Jets the 4-0 lead at that point.
Yeah, and this was a fresh pizza, like you said. That was a brutal turnover. And I mean, Cole Perfetti is a guy who has struggled as of late, but one thing that I think that second line could hang their hat on, even when Nikolai Ehlers wasn't on it, is they had been making strides, I thought, in their forechecking ability and their ability to disrupt plays in the offensive zone. Maybe that wouldn't lead to anything, or it hadn't led to anything over the last couple games, but it was going to. And this was, I mean, was this even their forechecking, or was it just a bad pass? You can argue whichever side you'd like, but this line, once again, was a really strong forechecking line. And Scott Arniel mentioned that in the postgame. They're not the three biggest players, Nemestikov, Ehlers, and Perfetti, but they're in on the forecheck and they're disrupting plays. And this play resulted in a high danger chance for Cole Perfetti. He needed a goal. It's his 7th of the year. And hopefully that this is a sign of things to come for that line. Now with Nikolai Ehlers back on it, they can maybe get rolling again and maybe pop up a little bit more on the stat sheet than they have over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly right. 4-0 at that point. The Wild run into a little bit of penalty trouble. You think the Jets are easily going to capitalize on this, with the 2-man advantage. Brendan Gaunce, who I'll be honest, I didn't realize was still in the NHL. He trips Ville Heinola with an offensive zone. It's an offensive zone penalty, which is not what the Minnesota Wild need at that point. So the Jets get the power play, and then when there's about 21 seconds to go on that power play, Jared Spurgeon trips Nikolai Ehlers after Ehlers had a great zone entry and then was coming around the boards, around the net, and Jared Spurgeon was just floundering on the ice. He trips him down. The Jets don't capitalize on the power play, but seconds after the power play ends, it's Neil Pionk with a great point shot, secondary assist going to Cole Perfetti. This is just as Spurgeon is really trying to get back into the play, and Vlad Nemestikov with a great tip, and he goes bar down to make it 5-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. You love love the shot from Neil Pionk because it's in such a tippable placement for Vlad Namestnikov. I think it's Zach Bogosian, if I'm not mistaken, who's trying to defend Namestnikov on this one. And it's just a great tip, great result, great shot by Pionk. Great night for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yes, and Zach Bogosian, actually, funny enough, they showed him on the scoreboard here during the anthem, and there was a bit of a murmur of like cheers. Like Jets fans like love to see Zach Bogosian, I guess.
Well, you know what, a certain, first of all, I mean, I don't think anybody has any ill will towards Zach Bogosian over his time here, but also, a guy like Zach Bogosian has been, I mean, he's the quintessential warrior at this point.
Yes.
In his NHL career. I'm sure he's more stitches than he is skin at this point. And he's certainly a grizzled veteran at the last stages of his career, but he tries to go out there and he's, running on fumes largely. And, I have some concerns about my defense if he's a regular and you're a playoff and you want to be a playoff team, but there's plenty of players on the Jets you could say the same about. But I think it's nice to see him sort of still doing his thing a little bit. Never materialized into that. I think he was the third overall pick, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But never quite materialized to that high of a player, but certainly a very respectful NHL career.
Absolutely. And Jets fans obviously showing their appreciation, I guess. Or there was a lot of Wild fans here tonight as well. I was down on the concourse. Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Vikings are on the road this week, is what I said to everyone. Yeah. So they got a free weekend to make a trip, right? No, but this was back to the goal that we started this conversation with. Neil Pionk, I feel like does a really good job of this, shooting tippable pucks from the point. I mean, how many times are you playing beer league hockey and you have that one guy on your team that just blasts point shots like head height?
You hate playing with that guy.
You fear for your life every time they wind up. But this is not that. It's along the ice. Namestnikov perfectly puts his blade down and goes bar down over the glove side of Wallstead, and that's not going to pop up as maybe a high danger chance. Maybe even a scoring chance. The original shot comes from the point, but make no mistake, that's a great play, and it's a repeatable goal if you want to call it that, or a goal that you'll score later in the year when the games are tighter and you need these deflection goals. We know Gabriel Velarde is one of the best players in the NHL at tipping pucks in front or just in front of the net in general, but it's nice to see Vladislav Namestnikov, maybe a guy who doesn't show that skill very often, get that. And Neil Pionk, again, like I said, shooting a very tippable puck, which he's done a lot over the years and a lot this year, which is a big reason for why he's racking up so many assists.
Yeah, exactly right. And it ends up being a great night for the Winnipeg Jets. Just a dominant performance over an overmatched Minnesota Wild team. The high danger chances 11-4. The possession numbers heavily in the Winnipeg Jets' favor. Two things you haven't really been able to say a whole lot lately. And so this was certainly a feel-good game for the Winnipeg Jets. They will look forward to making it 2 in a row before they wrap up the pre-Christmas, pre-Hanukkah, because they coincide this year. So that's nice as well. That portion of the schedule coming up on Monday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. When we come back here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, more on tonight's Jets Wild game. We'll look ahead to the Jets and the Leafs on Monday. And of course, Connor, this is your first opportunity. You're going to be introduced to an old friend of ours here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. I'm in Kentucky, so for those of you in the know, you're about to really be in the know. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mindell, Connor Harabchuk, the Illegal Curve post-game show rolls on this Saturday night. The Jets win 5-0 over the Minnesota Wild.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Saturday night, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Connor Hrabchuk with you. Winnipeg Jets victorious 5-0 over the Minnesota Wild tonight. And as you can see over my, I guess it's technically my left shoulder. I'm not sure if it comes out as my left shoulder on the screen or that might be my right shoulder on the screen. You can see it. It is there. I know you've all been waiting for it, folks. It's back. It's there in all its glory. You've been waiting since this morning when I did the broadcast outside. The clock has returned to the Illegal Curve hockey show, to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Connor is nodding and smiling. He's like, what in God's name are you even talking about?
We'll just roll with it.
Yeah, there you go. Just roll with it. That's all you need to know. You know, it's something that's very special to all of us here on the broadcast. I'm at my in-laws, as you may have deciphered. I mentioned that earlier. And the clock has always been a regular portion of the post-game show as we're here. I don't think we'll hear it chime. We heard it chime earlier. It actually chimed during Scott Arniel's post-game media availability. So I'm not sure if anybody heard it there. But the clock is behind me. It is still working. The chime goes regularly. As you can see, people in the chat are all about the clock. You know, Kenneth Gardner, who I believe was up at today's game from North Dakota and picked up his Illegal Curve merchandise that he got, was at the game, and he's there for the clock. You know, people are wanting the clock behind me. The people are happy to see the clock, as they have been wondering about the status of the clock. The clock is going strong. So everyone, fear not, the clock is behind you. Maybe at some point in time over the next week or so, we will get the clock to chime on air. Time will tell if that'll line up or not. But everybody is excited for the clock, which just goes to show that people here love the clock. It's all about the clock here.
Love it.
On the Illegal Curve post game show. Yes, if we win the cup, as CMAC says here, the clock will come to Winnipeg, and we will in fact not use the Stanley Cup. We'll just parade the clock down Portage and Main. That's what will happen instead of the Stanley Cup. It's all about the clock here on the Illegal Curve post game show. Some interesting post game comments. Mike McIntyre, this is courtesy of Murat Atesh of the Athletic. Mike McIntyre asked Morgan Barron if his teammates were giving him a hard time about scoring both of his goals this year into an empty net. Morgan Barron responding, laughing, saying, "No, everyone's been pretty polite about it until you." So the Jets are feeling good about themselves. They are giving Morgan Barron is giving the gears to Mike McIntyre. Barron continued on, said, "Listen, I'll take any of them. They're all good." And that's true. They are all good. But I bet you that one felt a little bit special for Morgan Barron. You want to get that kind of goal when there's a goalie in the net as opposed to no goalie at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to what we've said and what Scott Arniel said about all four lines rolling. Morgan Barron, I think, was a player that if the fourth line's going to get going, Obviously, he's one of the 3 players on that line, but he has the ability. I mean, he had 10 goals last year. He has the ability to score every now and then, which is what you want out of your 4th line. And that 4th line's been a strong forechecking line this year as well. Kapari's kind of remodeled his game. He's a penalty killer now. He's in on the forecheck more, and got rewarded for it with 2 goals. I mean, Alex Iafallo, like I said earlier, always brings the consistency in his game. So that line has a bit of an identity. It doesn't change much when David Gustafsson is there. And Morgan Barron, I mean, nice to see him get rewarded because he's one of the hardest working Jets. I know I always hand out that award every week. He's always in the running for hardest working Jet of the week. And it's nice to see players like that get rewarded from the 4th line.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's Cole Perfetti on the strong start to tonight's game. Again, courtesy of Murat Atesh. Quote, "We knew they were on a back-to-back and they were obviously going to be a little tired. We wanted to have a good start. We haven't had that as of late. Our first period was huge and we really wanted to take them out of the game." Well, mission accomplished, Cole Perfetti. Mission accomplished, Winnipeg Jets 5-0. That the Jets with a one-sided victory over the Minnesota Wild. Quickly, Connor, what were you expecting Monday afternoon? That weird Monday afternoon time. It's going to be difficult for the players. They don't play typically midweek or at a 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Even when they play on the weekend and they play at a 1 o'clock, it's a weird start for them. So, what are you expecting for the Winnipeg Jets on Monday against the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yeah, it's this weird kind of, I mean, like the Jets own the Wild, and we know that because they've won 8 straight games against the Wild. But the Leafs also own the Jets because the Leafs have won every single game since Mark Scheifele's nothing's better than beating the Leafs, right? They've won every single game since then. So the Jets own the Wild, and now they're playing against a team that typically owns them, and it'll be really interesting to see if the Jets can follow up this performance. We talked all morning and on this post-game show about all 4 lines rolling, the Jets getting back to those good starts. Are they just going to fall kind of back into those habits of having a rough first period or looking outmatched? And if Austin Matthews doesn't play, as you alluded to off the top of the show, he's questionable. If Matthews doesn't play, this is another opportunity for the Jets to go into the holiday break on a high note with 2 wins against 2 playoff opponents. The Leafs are the top team in the Atlantic right now, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. So it's another big test for the Jets. And coming out of that Anaheim game, you knew they were going to get up for this game. Saturday night, sold out crowd against their biggest rival. But this Monday game is going to be interesting because we'll see if the Jets can break the streak of always losing to the Leafs, which I know a lot of people in chat are not fond of.
Yes, exactly right. Nobody enjoys losing to the Toronto Maple Leafs at all. But that's all. It'll be a good, interesting one on Monday night or Monday afternoon. And you're going to be back joining, I believe, Ezra on Monday afternoon for the Illegal Curve post-game show, which is an afternoon post-game show. Monday afternoon, you and Mr. Ginsburg are going to bring us all the latest on the Winnipeg Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs after that matinee contest. But of course, before then, we're really putting you to work this weekend. Before then, you're going to have your next article for illegalcurve.com, your morning after article, and early tomorrow morning, the lights off on you. That's the sign we got to wrap up this post-game show.
We're back on. I think the lights are back on.
What can people expect on WST Sunday Live with you and Jacob and Liz tomorrow morning?
Yes, thank you. First, look forward to my next day takeaways on illegalcurve.com. Those always come out the day after the game. How many thoughts I'll have is kind of up to the game script, if you will. But we will see. And then WST Sunday Live is something that we've kind of been building since the start of the year. Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. We have an absolute blast talking all things Jets. We introduced a new segment recently, Trending Up, Trending Down. We pick players who we think trended up and down over the last week. And we hope you can join us on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel and share your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, thanks for letting me plug that.
Oh, of course I'm letting you plug that. We're not paying you to do this, so we're going to let you plug the things all together as well. We appreciate you joining us, pulling double duty with us. I'm obviously away. Ezra's got a lot going on. Dave's got a lot going on, so it's great to be able to have tap into some of the great other resources that we have covering the Winnipeg Jets here in this market, and you certainly count as one of those great resources, Connor. 5-0 for the Jets, victorious over the Minnesota Wild. Want to say a big thank you to, of course, all the sponsors of Illegal Curve. They make the post-game show, the website, and the Saturday show a possibility. The title sponsor, our friends at Play Now. They are the title sponsor of all of our programming. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. They have been with us for many, many years. They continue to go strong. And of course, if you're looking for something to do, New Year's Eve, tickets available at rumorscomedyclub.com. Damon Schritter, there's 2 performances, 7 o'clock, and then again 10:15 to ring in the new year with champagne and party favors at midnight. Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram, support all of these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Big thanks to you, Connor, for joining us both this morning and tonight on the post-game show. Big thanks to all of you in the chat for joining us this morning and again now. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smash the like button. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends, tell your family. The best place to be on Saturday mornings, the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. For Connor Harabchuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. If I don't see you, which I may not see you, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Be safe, be well. Spend some quality time with your family. Hug your loved ones, things of that nature. It's important to sort of unwind and mellow out, and all the best to everybody in the holiday season. Ezra and Connor will be back on Monday afternoon. Until then, thank you everyone for joining us. Good night, good luck. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.